Welcome back, designers, to Kat Silvia Designs. I'm Kat, and in today's video, we are going to make a bead bar necklace. This trendy design is commonly seen with crystals, pearls, or gemstones, but I encourage you to try using tiny wood beads or even metal beads. This is a great opportunity to do a mixed metal design. Please take this moment to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can see my brand new videos every single Wednesday. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up so that I know that you're enjoying content just like this. Many of the items you'll see here today can be purchased over at Eureka Crystal Beads. Check that description box, I have a special coupon code just for you. Okay, if you're ready, let's learn how to make a bead bar necklace. Making a bead bar necklace is going to use one of our go-to techniques, the wrapped wire loop. Only this time we are going to be attaching it directly to a delicate piece of chain. So I have my wire here, and I have a 24 gauge and a 22 gauge. I'm going to talk about why that's important in just a moment. I also have a little lobster clasp. I have my two little jump rings. This is the chain I'm going to be using. I have a nice silver delicate chain. And then I brought out a selection of gemstones and pearls. Now those are all about 2 millimeters each. And what's really great is this design is so easy to personalize. You can do it with a higher gauge of wire, let's say more like a 22 or even a 20, and with a heavier chain. So you can make this not a delicate necklace. You can make it a little bit more of a statement kind of piece if you wanted to do that and use larger beads or crystals or what have you. So for the tools, we are going to be using our wire straightening pliers, which is our nylon jaw pliers right here. I have my bent nose pliers, my round nose pliers, my chain nose pliers, and my flush cutters. So kind of your basic set of tools there. But that is what we're going to need to create this bead bar necklace. Again, like I said, it's incredibly easy to personalize. It's wonderful for like bridesmaids, or if you want to choose a gemstone that's a birthstone. It's a great opportunity to really just showcase a little delicate strip of your favorite beads. Okay, so let's get started. I want to begin by talking about the two wires that I have here. Now I'm using a silver plated artistic wire, and I have 24 gauge and 22 gauge. Now to the naked eye, when you look at these, there's not really that much of a difference. So the 22 is going to be a little bit larger and the 24 is going to be a little bit thinner. Now here's what I'll say. Anytime you're working with gemstones, you have to understand that they are not always perfectly drilled. You can even see along the strand that it came with, some of them are a little offset. So when you are doing this necklace, feel free to take a bunch of the gemstones off and see what fits best. You're going to see that kind of happen here in just a minute. But what I want to do now is I'm going to remove the 22 gauge because I know I'm not going to use that. I am going to use the 24 gauge, so I'm going to take a little bit off of my spool here. We don't need too much for this, but I'm going to give myself an extra little length there. I've probably got about 8 inches or so. And I'm going to just clip that off with my flush cutters. And I like to just kind of bend mine down so it doesn't start to uncoil. So you can use that little extra piece there to hold your wire in place. Okay, so now that I have this, I'm going to straighten it because I have a little bit of a kink on this one side here. Actually, I'm going to just hold it in my pliers there, my chain nose pliers, and I'm just going to run my nylon jaw pliers along the side here just to kind of straighten it out a little bit. It's okay if it has a little bit of a bend. I wouldn't worry too much about that. And then just coming to this side here, and we're just going to try to straighten this out just a little bit. I think that'll be cut off, so I'm not too worried about straightening that bit of it. Okay, now we have our nice piece of straight wire. What I want to do first is I'm going to come to one end, and I'm going to come about an inch or so down. Again, this is way more length than you'd probably need, and you'll see what I mean in just a second, but I just want to be able to kind of grip it and hold it so it's easy to see. Decide how large you want your loop to be. I like to go about maybe 1/4 of an inch or so, maybe a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch down my round nose pliers. So I'm going to bend it backwards towards me so I have almost a 90-degree angle. I'm going to wrap this piece up and over my plier, rotate my plier, and just bring that right across. So that would be the point where we'd have our simple wire loop. Now I'm going to take this out for just a moment here because I want you to see my loop. It's a little wonky there. Let me fix that. Can't have that. There we go. A little more straight. So now I want to come in with my wire, with my chain, and I'm going to slip it onto the wire, and I'm going to make sure that it sits inside that loop. You might need to open it up just a little bit. So you see how it's inside that loop now? So now what we do is we come in and we can grip it with our chain nose pliers here if we want, or we can do this with our round nose pliers. I'm going to take this wire and now we're going to wrap it around, and we want a really nice little tight wrap. I'm going to wrap once and twice. Now sometimes you can wrap more than once or twice if you want. I want this to be really nice and thin, so I'm only going to do 2 wraps, and I'm going to come in with my flush cutters and snip that off. Okay, so now we have our little wrapped wire loop attached to our chain. Now you notice that I have about 24 inches of chain here, but I want to make a shorter necklace, but I'm going to show you a little trick to kind of save some of that chain of yours. I'm going to just tuck my little tail in here. He's kind of sticking out more than I'd like. There we go. Okay, so now if at this point, if you feel, because if you may have been like playing with the wire here, if you want, you can just hold it and just kind of straighten it out a little bit. There we go. Now, coming to this side, we're going to start to load our beads. So I'm going to take a few of those beads off. And now I'm just going to start to kind of pick them up as though this were a needle. And you see that one slides down nice and easy. Sometimes your gemstones, like I said, may be drilled a little bit off, or they may have, you know, it just, some holes might be just larger than others. You can use an awl if you'd like to help drill further into those holes, or you can just kind of choose some other ones if it doesn't kind of line up for you. That's why I like to do this with like a bigger strand. Now, if you're using something like seed beads, those are probably going to be a bit more uniform for you. And I've seen this done with like 11-0 seed beads. You know, you can just do something that's really nice and delicate there. But you just see how that's coming together right there on the end. It's really beautiful. It's so delicate. I just love it. This is a really easy kind of style of necklace. All right, that one doesn't want to go. You want to go? Sometimes you have to pick them up. All right, here we go. Come on. And you can choose if you want to do like a pattern. Oh, see, this one's a little harder to get on, but he'll go on. There we go. You can choose to do a pattern if you like of your beads, or you can also add like a charm or something to the middle if you wanted to have that. I like just the clean single color bead bar, but definitely just decide how long you want it to be. And keep in mind that as you're doing this, if you want to kind of have your ruler handy to make sure that you're getting the right length that you need. The clasp that we're going to add is probably going to add about 1/2 inch, so you can kind of work backwards with your measurements there. Okay. So let's just see. I just want to see. That might be enough, actually. I think that's maybe a little over 1 inch. A little over 1 inch, 1.25 inches. All right, that's good enough for me. So let me get these out of the way. And what I'm going to do is I still have my whole length of chain here. I haven't cut it yet, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to connect this together, okay? So repeating what we did on the other side, we're going to come in. Now we want to leave room for that wrap, so we want to come in just above where those last few beads are. You see how I'm leaving just a little bit of space for that wrap? And make sure that you're keeping it flat. So we want our loops to be the same way. So you can see the loop down here is flat, right? Oops. Try to get it in focus. There we go. Is flat. So I'm going to wrap the same direction, okay? So come in just above, bend my wire backwards, and you can see how I have so much extra wire, and bring it across, same as we did before. I'm going to slip on my chain to this side. Okay, I can kind of get that out of the way. And you can use your round nose pliers for this bit too. So we're just going to wrap once and wrap twice. Very nice. Okay, so now come in with your flush cutters and trim that off. Okay, so we have our little bead bar, right? So now you could make a necklace without a clasp if you wanted to make something that, you know, was even enough. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of stretch it out like this. And I know that I want each side to be about 7 inches, because if I'm going to add about 1 inch here, and then I have 7 inches, so 14, and then we'll call it 15, and then just a little bit of a half, because we want to look at how our clasp is going to sit, right? So it's going to look a little bit like that when we have it all clasped, and that's a little over 1/2 inch. So I'm getting close to like a 15.5, 16 inch necklace, right? So that's what I want to do. So let's bring it here, and now I can come in with my flush cutters and trim it right here. And coming to this side here, measuring out my 7 inches. And cutting here. So instead of having 2 scrap pieces, I only have 1 scrap piece left. So I can use this for something. So instead of having all those little bits and bobbles that are like 2 inches or 1 inch or something, I can now actually use this possibly even for like a bracelet. So you see we have extra space. Always good. Save, save, save. All right, so now looking at our necklace, typically if you are selling jewelry, this is a little extra tip from me to you, you always want to put the clasp in the wearer's right hand. Now for this one, it could go either way, but just, you know, while I'm thinking of it and while I'd go ahead and mention it here, we're going to take our jump ring on this side and give it a little gentle twist. Now I'm using really thin 22 gauge jump rings here because it needs to be able to fit through this chain. And even now it's being a bit temperamental with me. There we go. So I'm going to slip on my clasp to this side as well and closing that up. And then to this side we just need to add our little jump ring. It's always good to have multiple sizes of jump rings around because you might get to a place where you're like, oh shoot, this one is a little bit too big and it's not going to fit through that chain. You know, so now we have the opportunity to be able to actually finish our piece and make a really nice, tiny, delicate necklace. Now this, like I said, 15 inches might be too short for some, but I wanted to make something for my niece, so I knew that she wanted something that was going to be a little bit closer because she's a little tinier. But this is just how to make a bead bar necklace. I think it's a really great technique. Like I said, you can just choose your favorite little gemstone just to highlight it, and it can be super sweet and really adorable. Thanks so much for watching, designers. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and let me know down in the comments that you want to see more tutorials just like this one. Don't forget the items that you've seen here today are down in that description box for you. Thank you for subscribing to my channel and hitting that notification bell. Also, head over to Instagram to connect with me there to catch my live Q&A classes. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next video.